Yeah, please mute yourself. Somebody is on. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, today we'll discuss about the testing types. Under testing types, we have discussed about there are two types of testing. One is manual testing. Sorry, yeah, testing types you can see general category is a manual testing, and second one is a automation testing. Okay, currently we are focusing on manual testing. Under manual testing, okay, how many type of testings we have? Under manual means manually we are going to test the application, right? So manually we are going to test the application. How many types are there? There are two types. One is actually static testing, another one is a dynamic testing. Okay, static testing where we do verification. And what about dynamic testing? Validation. Okay, what is the difference between verification and validation?
Static QA, dynamic QC.
Okay, what are the other major differences?
It is
Static.
the prevention. Static is the prevention, and dynamic is cure. Means after building the project, we test the application to find the adjustment defects.
Super. Right. Before, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Static deals with the document, and dynamic we will do the actual testing.
Super. Yes. Static deals with the document verification. Dynamic testing deals with the actual testing of the application. Actually, manual testing comes under the category of dynamic testing. So I will ask one interview question here, right? Does static testing applicable for all the phases of SDLC, software development lifecycle, or not?
Yes. It is applicable.
Correct. What about dynamic testing? Does it applicable to all the phases of SDLC, software development lifecycle?
No, it happens after the development stage.
Correct. So under SDLC, we have discussed how many phases are there under SDLC. Almost every software development happens with a certain process. Process means nothing but some standard guidelines and framework, rules and regulations that we need to follow to maintain the project with utmost quality. To build a project, we follow certain processes. What are those processes? So first step is actually requirement gathering, okay, and analysis, and then we do design, and then we basically design the software. Please mute yourself, you are not talking. Design, and then go to the development, and then we go to the next phase is what is the next phase? Testing, and the next phase is what is the next phase? Requirement gathering, analysis, design, and development, testing,
Implement.
deployment, and then finally we go for a maintenance. Super, maintenance. So most of the SDLC models or processes, frameworks follow these generic or like standard steps. First start with always most of the projects starts with the requirement gathering analysis, then application architect or solution architect design the software, and then developers develop the code and create a lot of classes and packages, and testers start with the testing activities post development, and then after testing we deploy the software for a QAT. That we'll discuss later. QAT means application under test. That application under test is supposed to be undergone a UAT. UAT means user acceptance test. Okay, that we'll discuss later. What is UAT and all. Then finally, application undergoes a maintenance phase. Okay, so in SDLC model, see, phase 3, 4, and 5 is actually repeated tasks. Okay, hope you guys know. So that means entire application is divided into different chunks. The small chunks. Entire application functionality is divided into small chunks. So each chunk we can say is actually one build. Okay, one build. In agile methodologies, we call actually what you call in agile methodologies. What is the terminology we use?
Sprint.
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 Okay.
Build technique.
Yes. So each okay build or each sprint in agile methodologies we call sprint. Sprint ideally the duration is 15 days. So it is a time boxed environment. What is time boxed environment? That means whatever you do as a developer or tester supposed to be
Within time
completed
frame.
within 15 days. Yes. Okay, within 15 days you have to complete and deliver the working product to the client. That is all about sprint. So designing is a one-time activity, requirement gathering also one-time activity. After the designing and the requirement gathering analysis, basically your test manager or development manager will keep on assign the a list of user stories to you. Based on that, you have to keep on develop the code. You have to keep on develop the code and test the code and deploy the code. And finally, you have to take the feedback from the clients. Once we get a positive feedback, again we go for a development for next sprint. Again we do test, again we do deployment, again we take the feedback, again we go for deployment, sorry, development and then test. So almost 3, 4 and 5, these phases are actually repetitive phases. That's the reason we call actually each build undergoes a cycle. Cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, cycle 4 and so on. From project to project, these technologies will vary. Certain projects call it as a cycle, certain projects call it as a sprint, certain projects call it as a build. Traditional SDLC models, software development lifecycle models, call builds. Agile methodologies we call sprint. Okay, so that's the only difference. Then coming to the static testing, basically applicable across all the phases of SDLC. Then coming to dynamic testing, it is applicable only for testing. Okay, static testing, what are the techniques we follow? What are the methodologies we follow? Review, okay, inspection and audit, yes, audit, peer review. Okay, these are the various techniques we follow to do static testing. What about dynamic testing? Yes, that's what I want to explain now. Okay, under dynamic testing, as a tester, okay, people call you as a QA, quality analyst. Okay, so as a QA, what is your role and responsibilities? Okay, as a QA, you have to validate the application functionality against the requirements given by the client. You have to validate the application functionality developed by the development team against the requirements given by the client. Why? Client is the ultimate stakeholder who look after the requirements, and he knows what exactly he is looking for the customers. Hence, we should strictly follow the requirements document while developing as well as testing. So requirement gathering or requirement document called SRS, System Requirement Specification Document, or FRS document, or it may be some another name given by the some project. Okay, it might be a user stories, use case, whatever it is. You have to strictly follow those documents while developing the application as well as testing. Okay, so after getting the requirements, what exactly we do under dynamic testing? See, our job is, our objective is to deliver the quality product. To deliver a quality product, what we have to do, we have to uncover the defects in the application. How do we uncover? Uncover means nothing but finding the defects. Your job is finding faults in the application. That's all, as simple as such. Okay, how do you find? So what is the difference between a ordinary person and a tester? Tester basically know how to test, how exactly we test the application through various techniques. Okay, what are those techniques we follow? Okay, techniques to follow. Okay, first one is a boundary value analysis. Second one is a equivalence class partition. Okay, third one is a basis path technique. Okay, and fourth one is a State transition mode. State transition. Okay. Okay. So certain techniques are applicable for white box testing also. What is white box testing? Again, there are various okay models of testing. One is white box testing. White box testing. And second one is black box testing. Black box testing. And third one is a gray box testing. See, all developer, I mean, white box testing is carried by the development community. Development community means whoever is working in the development of the application, they ideally have to complete their white box test execution. What is white box test execution? So white box test execution is nothing but testing the internal logic of the code. Testing internal logic of the code. So how do we validate? Does testers have access to the code? I'm talking about black box testers. Does black box testers are okay QA have access to the code? No.
No.
Ideally, no, because testers does not have any access to the code developed by the development team. The reason is we should always have an independent testing team. That's one of the best practice most of the projects follow. Okay, why we have independent team? Why we have an independent testing team? Why can't we use the developers for testing purpose? It's also an entry question. They would ask this question. So, sir, we have experts in the development team. They know in and out about the application, so we can leverage developers for testing also. Can we do that?
No.
No. Okay. It is a strong no. Okay. Why?
They'll
Why
think in
can't we?
development perspective.
Super. Okay. They always think that whatever they have developed is correct. Okay. You have created something. Okay. Can you find a faults in what you have created?
No, sir.
No, of course no. Okay, if you're a developer, definitely you always have leniency towards your code. Okay, so whatever you have developed, you assume that that is correct. That is the reason most of the products have independent testing teams. Independent testing team. That is the reason, even though the technologies has evolved and the technologies has come up with the built-in testing frameworks, still testing teams are separated from the development team. The reason is this. This is the basic, fundamental reason behind having an independent testing team for most of the projects. Even it is a small project, if you take a very small project of size 2 developers, even though we have 2 developers only working on the project, we have 1 tester. Yes, we should maintain 1 tester. Okay, the reason is developers cannot find faults. That's why developers really cannot find a faults. So that is the reason we should always have a independent testing team. Coming to black box testing, they actually test the functionality of the application. This functionality also called as a behavior of the application. Behavior of the application, functionality of the application is one another same. We have to validate the functionality of the application. Functionality means what? For suppose you are using a Paytm application, right? So whenever you are transferring the money, you have to validate the bank details. How bank details gets authenticated? We have to enter account number, okay, and then IMS code, IFMS code, something code, that code we have to enter automatically. It just get a message from the intended bank. For suppose you have a bank account with a Kotak Mahindra. So Kotak basically is supposed to send a confirmation message. So that's a functionality. How do you validate? We validate whether we are getting a message from the server or not. If you are a backend tester, right? So functionality of the application is supposed to be validated. So do you touch the code over here? Do you see, okay, the function, I mean, the code created, okay, for a particular functionality? We never, as a tester, we never see the code behind the I mean, the logic behind the functionality. Okay, so how we are going to validate? We validate always with the GUI. GUI means graphical user interface, also called as front end. Okay, we always deal with the front end. So that's how actually functionality or behavior of the application they're supposed to be tested. Okay, then coming to gray box testing. Who are gray box testers? Okay, apart from black box testing, okay, whatever the testing we are going to do on an application categorized as a non-functional testing. Non-functional testing is nothing but a functional testing, non-functional testing. There are two types. Functional testing basically deals with the functionality of the application. Non-functional testing means apart from functionality of the application, as a tester, we need to validate certain non-functional aspects of the application. That we will discuss when we are discussing about the non-functional testing types. Coming to gray box testing, best example, database testing. Example, server level validation. Okay, client side validation, right? The person who is working on gray box basically have a capability of doing both white box testing and a black box testing. That means he have an access to the code. At the same time, he also test the GUI of the application. Okay, best example, database testing. Database testers always know both the back end as well as the front end. Okay, so this is all about white box testing, black box testing, and gray box testing. Any doubts in this? Let me know quickly. Any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, pretty much simple and straightforward. Then coming to BBA, what are the techniques we follow? As a tester, what are the techniques we follow? See, these techniques are also applicable for development. Yes. Okay. See, especially basis path technique is there. Basis path technique means we check under basis path technique, we have conditional testing, conditional flow, and okay, we also check decision. Okay, flow testing. Okay, so basically, if you create a program as a developer, we have to test whether all the conditions or flows in the application, okay, are working as per the requirement or not. As a developer, we always thoroughly check whether all the conditions and decision statements, okay, and iterative statements for both positive and negative data, okay, is working as per the requirement or not. So that is allowed basis path techniques. Basis path means we have to check all the flows of the application against the design document. Okay, in design document, we clearly mention, okay, how many classes are there? What is the okay, member variables and what is the member functions? What is the relationship between the classes? How they are related to each other? Okay, so that's supposed to be tested under a basis by using a basis path techniques. Okay, then coming to BBA, what is BBA? Okay, so BBA is done by QA, again, quality analyst perform this BBA. What is BBA? Boundary value analysis. Okay, boundary value analysis. You guys tell me how we are going to validate this test scenario. The test scenario is very simple. Okay, test scenario is, okay, the person who has okay, age of 23 to 35 years is eligible to appear. Okay, some UPSC, IAS exams. This is a test scenario. Okay, it's a pretty much very simple test scenario. Now tell me, guys, how you are going to test this? How do you validate it? How do we validate?
So
How do
by
you
using boundary value analysis, we want to check the age limit, like in between 23 to 33. That is the boundary.
Okay, very good. Okay, so whatever you said is correct. Okay, so but what are the values we have to consider to validate this test scenario?
Personate
Mm,
age.
we'll take less than 23 one value, but greater than 23 one value, less than 35 one value, above 35 one value. Pass and fail scenario.
Correct. So basically, you have to take both upper limit and lower limit. Okay, upper limit basically starts with 35, right? So upper limit is 35. Lower limit is 23. So under 23, what is the values you have to consider? That is all about actually boundary value analysis. We are going to analyze the boundaries or range of the values, okay, with the different values. Okay, we have to validate with 22, okay, 23, and if required, 24. Okay, this is the one range. Coming to upper limit, we validate with the 33, okay, 35, and then a 36. Okay, so how many test cases we have to perform execute to validate this test scenario? We have to validate with the 6 sets of test cases. Yes, 22, 23, 24. We have to enter 22, and we have why we are giving 22. So they have clearly mentioned that 23 and 35, right? So why can't you straight away go ahead with 23 and 35, sir? Why we are validating with these values?
22 system should not allow. That also we need to check.
Super, right? Okay, system should not allow. That means if you are only 22 years of age old, system should not allow that. System should not allow that you are to appear for a IAS exams. That means the registration form should not allow to register your details if you are age below 23 years. That means that is also one of the functionality of the test case, right? But these type of test cases are called actually negative test scenarios. Negative. Don't think that negative means we should not do it. No, it's a compulsory activity to perform a negative test scenarios, okay, along with the positive test scenarios to cover the functionality of the application. So 22 we have to take, and then 23 also we have to take. Okay, this is positive. What about 24? It is also positive. Okay, and then coming to 23, it is again a positive, and 35 is positive, and 36, this is negative. Right. So this is the approach we have to follow. 33, 35, 36. This is also called as a equivalence class partitioning. Okay. Equivalence class partitioning means nothing but whenever you have a test scenario that needs to be tested, you should always create a 2 set of classes. One is the negative classes, negative, and the second one is a positive. Okay, but what it means, sir? What is equivalence class partitioning? That means you have to divide the set of test cases into 2 equal classes. One is a negative set of classes, and the other one is the positive set of classes. That is all about equivalence class partitioning. That means the tester should not bypass or diverted only towards positive test scenario. We should always consider both positive and negative. That is all about equivalence class partitioning. Okay, equivalence class partitioning. Okay, so boundary value analysis and equivalence class partitioning and basis path technique. And the last one is a state transition technique. Ideally, this is basically contains various states of the test scenario. Okay, various states of the test scenario. Please mute. Please mute yourself. Just a second, I'm just referring particular slide. Yes. Yeah, this is all about state transition diagram. Nothing actually. It's a pictorial representation of a simple test case or test scenario. See, the test scenario here is validating the PIN number against the ATM. How do you validate? We always start with start. Start means we insert the card. After that, we wait for PIN. After entering the PIN, first try, we enter an incorrect PIN. Okay, then it will give one more chance, second try, right? Again, we enter incorrect PIN. Then we can have one more try. 3 times it allows, right? So third time also you enter incorrect PIN. What happened? Okay, so your debit card or credit card gets locked by the bank people. Bank automatically locks your card, so you can't insert again and validate. Okay, withdraw the money at the ATM. Okay, so basically in this state transition diagram, who will use basically the scientific application testing can be done using a state transition diagram, because each and every step is very critical to them. So that's the reason first they will draw what exactly the flow supposed to happen. What are the various steps involved to test the particular scenario that they are going to draw using a state transition diagram. Each circle indicates one state, starting with the start. Okay, starting with the start, and then wait for PIN number, and then we go for first try, and then second try, and third try. And if you failed or if you enter incorrect PIN for consequently 3 times, automatically your credit card or debit card gets locked. Okay, so in this diagram, nothing actually. It simply indicates that what are the states involved to cover the particular functionality. Then one more thing is actually decision table. Okay, I forgot to include here the decision table. What is the decision table technique? What is the decision table? See, if you know, okay, yeah. If you know decision table technique, if you know boundary value analysis or ECP, you automatically know decision table. That means you know how to use the decision table technique. So what decision table technique? Nothing actually. We just try this functionality with both the positive and negative values. That is all about a decision table technique. I want to validate a Gmail account. How do you validate? I want to validate the login functionality of the Gmail. How do you validate? You have to enter, for example, Amazon. Okay, e-commerce portal have a login functionality. I want to validate it. How to validate? Yeah, just a second. Decision table. What is a decision table? Here, to validate Amazon login functionality, we have to take two parameters. One is email and another one is a password. We have to enter the email and then password. So the B indicates a valid data. I indicates invalid data. Tell me how many flows are there? How many test cases can be written to cover a login functionality of the Amazon e-commerce portal? How many test cases supposed to be created? Tell me how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, to validate a very simple functionality of login, see, this much time we have to spend. That's the reason we are going to automate. Got it, right? Why we are basically deals with the automation in a next topic, not next topic further. This is the reason. So to validate a simple functionality of the application, we have to spend a lot of effort. You have to spend a lot of effort. You have to put a lot of effort to validate. So to check the simple functionality, we have to try with the different sets of test data. This is all about test data. Okay. Here enter a valid email ID and valid password. Then yeah, our test case is passed. And then second iteration, we enter a invalid email ID, but enter invalid password, right? If you take any this thing, Amazon.com is a portal, right? Amazon. Okay. Yeah, Amazon.in, I think. India domain is in, I think. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to cognitive mode. Okay. Amazon.com. Let's enter this. Okay, I want to sign in. Okay, new customer, we have to sign. Just click here. See, it is asking for email ID. After entering some email ID, it will ask for continue. Okay, just click continue. See why we are getting this error. Okay, this is called as actually negative testing. That means we entered an invalid email. Okay, look at here. This is the case we are just validating. We entered invalid email ID. So automatically you will get a error message from the client side. Client side, this is a client. Whatever you are seeing, there's a client, right? So we're supposed to get this error message saying that there is an error. Or suppose you enter a correct username. Okay, so you can simply say, okay. Just click continue. See, oh, there's a problem again. Still, okay, I will give correct username, correct email ID. Okay, just click continue. Okay, see, sign in. Now it is asking for password, right? So that means, see, you have to validate both the positive and negative scenarios of the functionality. For positive, you have to enter correct username, and for negative, you have to enter the invalid username. Invalid username here is actually email ID. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total 9 times you have to test this functionality. Okay, how tedious it is actually. Every time you have to open this form and you have to test 9 times if you go for a manual. Okay, if you are going through a manual process, you have to validate 9 times. Okay, so this is all about a decision table. Decision table is nothing but a testing the same functionality with the different combinations of test data. What are the data we are entering here? Here, username and password, those are actually test data. Okay, you can ask this question, who provides this test data? Who provides this test data, ideally? Who provides this test data? The test data is provided by the client most of the times. Why? Because you can't give, right? See, until unless you enter a valid username, it will accept, right? Yes or no? So that means you can't give ad hoc data. Really, this is a very real-time example. of test data, we can't give ad hoc data. Application does not take for sure. Then how we are going to validate it? We have to get the data from the client. Once you get into the project, client will give a real-time data. That too, they will give a timestamp also. Timestamp means the data is valid only for 1 day. Only within 24 hours, you have to use the test data and complete the test execution. That is where actually the tricky part, we can see in the testing phases. We are always rush while executing the test cases. Why? Because there are so many dynamic aspects, especially test data does not work once you cross the 24 hours time. Second thing is you have very limited time, especially for QA people and automation testers, and even for development also. Development team also not a simple job. It's a very really hectic job. Okay, tests have very limited time, and within the stipulated times, you have to create the test cases. You have to review the test cases. You have to rework, and you have to update with all the changes. And then finally, you have to get the sign off from the client, and then you have to go for a test execution. Before going to get the test execution, you have to get the test data from the client, and within that time period, we have to complete your test execution. Okay, so these are the various challenges we come across while working on real-time projects. Okay, so this is all about the various techniques we follow. As a QA. Boundary value analysis, where we validate the different boundaries of the test scenario. Example I have taken here, the person who is has age of 23 to 35 years is eligible to appear for a exam. So we have taken upper limit and lower limit. Upper limit is 35 and lower limit is 23. To test a lower limit, we have to again divide the entire case into different classes, both positive and negative test classes. For negative test classes, we have to take 22 and 22, only 22. Okay, for a positive, we have to take a 23 and 24. And again, for upper limit, you have to take 33 because we have taken 35, right? 34, sorry, 34, 35, and 36. 36 is the negative test condition. 35 is positive again. 34 is a positive. That is all about equivalence, class partitioning, and boundary value analysis. Then we have seen already basis part technique, where we validate all the conditions and decision statements in the program. This is ideally done by developers. Sometimes we also involve in a application testing, code testing. At that time, we also use these techniques. Okay, if you are testing code as a white box tester, we should always also follow these techniques. That's the reason we need to learn. State transition techniques, ideally the technique followed by the scientific application scientists. Okay, where the each and every step is very critical for the application. So they draw each and every step and notified as each and every step as a state, and then they validate each and every state. Okay, to uncover the defects in the application. Then coming to the decision table, where we test the application with the different combinations of test data, different combinations, both valid, invalid, both valid. One is valid, another one is invalid. Okay, see here we have taken only 2 inputs, but for suppose if you have 10 inputs, imagine how complex it is. Here we have taken only 2 inputs, 2 conditions. One is email, and another one is a password. What about if it is a registration form has 100 fields, or if the registration form has 10 fields? Tell me, on an average 10 into 9, then it will be around 90 times you have to test it. Okay, just a rough calculation. It will vary again, right? For example, if you are going to validate, yes, 10 fields are there. Here we are seeing only 2 fields. Okay, but if registration form has 10 fields, we are going to end up with almost 90 into 10. Sorry, 9 into 10, almost 90 times. It is more than 90 times, 90 also. Okay, so 90 times you have to test the single registration form. Okay, so this is all about various techniques we follow. We stop here for today. I will discuss remaining topics tomorrow. Okay.